Hey everyone, welcome back to Inspired Action Life podcast. If any of you are like me, I found myself stuck, uninspired, and just not knowing what it was that I wanted to do next. I was questioning everything, saying things to myself like, there has just got to be more to this life than what I have right now. And I was refusing to settle for just another job that was just going to be a paycheck. But I just couldn't bring myself to call it an actual career. I was just going through the motions until I finally just went all in learning how to refocus and get clarity around what it was that I really did want in my life and then this next chapter of my career. I delved into some untapped resources to really begin to create a life and a career that I always desired. A glimpse of what your next level life can look like because you're in great company. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspired Action Life podcast. I'm your host Karen Baldridge, and we are now on the precipice of a brand new year of 2025. We're just days, I should say, actually, away. I'm a couple days before Christmas recording this podcast and just thinking that even though I haven't been that active this year on my podcast, I thought maybe doing a year-end wrap-up a little bit to kind of bring a whole bunch of concepts together that have really been quite a revelation actually this year, even though outwardly I haven't been producing as much in terms of my podcast, but internal work and other projects that I have done have really sort of picked up the pace a little bit and gotten a little more I don't know, what do you want to say? Put a form around some of my other ideas that I've been trying to bring forth from just concepts into reality and putting them out there into the world. And it's just been some interesting developments that have happened this year. Anything from, I think for me, the most inside ones were the most remarkable ones, because just when you think you've done a lot of work on yourself, personal development, and just concepts that you'll see like meditations, and you're like, oh, I'm going to try that program or this program, all the way from business programs, joining business programs to kind of get a little more acumen in the business side of things, to any kind of health and wellness, nutrition type of programs. There's been a mix of all of that actually this year, but there's been some biggest aha moments. It's been so crazy. I laugh as I say this because it's just so much that I can't even, I'm going to try to formulate them in some kind of a cohesive message for this wrap up, because life is a big ball of a bunch of things too for all of us. It's not just a one theme type of thing for life. It's family, it's personal, it's career, it's professional, it's emotional, it's, as you know, if you have kids, it's a parental, and sometimes you're manning not only your own kids, but aging parents, and all of the things kind of come in as a big amalgamation of life experiences into your one life. So I'm going to try to not be too micro in this message, and really try to hammer down some big swaths of lessons and things that I have figured out this year, honestly, that have been really revolutionary and have, I don't know how to say it without sounding dramatic, but have really changed me, to be honest. There's been a lot of change. So I'm just a regular person, a regular mom, a regular gal who has switched careers in, at what would have been more like a midlife career switch, and is that even possible? So I've been kind of bringing you along for the ride as to what I've been doing, how I've been doing it, and just the fact that I am doing it, because sometimes I have to also report on the failures as well as the aha moments and successes, in hopes that maybe it will give you a little bit of inspiration to try something that seems like, why am I even bothering? Here I am at the end of what would be, some of my friends are already preparing to like, ooh, I can't wait to retire, and get their life together from a retirement standpoint. And, looking and making plans to slowing down. And here I'm over here, ramping up and generating energy and momentum towards another chapter. So everyone's life trajectories are so different. So I think that's maybe my first point, without even intending on making that point. That is the first point, is that you can't compare your trajectory and your life to anybody else's, because I don't know many people who are on the exact same trajectory as me right now, where literally instead of trying to ramp down, I'm trying to ramp up. And you sometimes have to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this still? And so there's all kinds of information. Sorry, I am actually walking and recording this because I just felt inspired, and sometimes I think better when I walk as opposed to just sitting stagnant behind my microphone. I don't love to do that. See, I'm already making noises and messes. But anyway, it's just been a ride for me to try to understand why it is that I just can't chill out. I just can't seem to just leave well enough alone and ride off into the sunset. Like I know a lot of my friends and peers and former colleagues are doing. They're trying to wrap things up. And so there's been a couple ahas around that are going to be the similar ahas that I'll be sharing with the rest of my wrap up of the year. And again, trying to parcel these, or I should say silo these, into some hard concepts that I can share to see if they have any value in your life. Because when you're trying to understand why you're doing what you're doing, or you're feeling stuck and confused and stagnant, sometimes it really, in my experience, has helped to find people, what I call expanders, people who are like in that same place in their life and feeling that same feeling that you're feeling. And in my case, that's a little bit like restlessness, or not quite finished, or not quite accomplished as I want to be, in terms of I still have some ideas percolating that I feel like I can't rest until I bring them out. You know what I mean? And some of them are not going to work, and some of them are. But the fact is I need to know that, whether they're going to work or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good at just leaving a concept lie and then not knowing whether or not it had value or had legs out there in the ethers, so to speak. So I just can't leave it alone. So that's part of the story on my end, is that once again, I've continued to have an evolution, shall I say, not only a personal evolution, but a professional, business, and brand evolution. Because why? Because more information continues to find itself to me, more bigger ideas, or a reframing of former ideas and thoughts that I had before. New information is now entering into the conversation. So I can't just let it sit there and not do anything with it, right? So I have to tie it all together in a bow and bring it into my experience to see what it is that I'm supposed to do with it. So while that might seem a little confusing, because this, again, I'm trying not to look like I'm just randomly pulling ideas and just saying them stream of consciousness to you. I will land the plane eventually, I promise. But just giving you an overall view of why I'm even, recording this podcast in the first place. First of all, because it's the idea that I wanted to do. Again, one of those concepts that I didn't feel like I should just leave untethered for years, and I really felt like there needed to be a wrap up. So I'm really going to kind of do this sequentially to try to give you where the new ideas took place and how they unfolded for me in the year of 2024. Because I really had, as I always do, because I'm a bit of a idea person or a possibilities person, where I never just leave well enough alone. I'm always looking to kind of let things unfold. But as I entered 2024, I didn't have a lot of clarity onto where it was that I wanted to go, like directionally with my business, because I know that I still liked to operate somewhat in the corporate space, but I really have a heart for reaching out and doing this kind of experiences and life uplifting for all of us regular people who don't have access to corporate coaching in our careers or professions, or maybe we're entrepreneurs and we just need to know we're not operating alone out here, and we're maybe not invested completely in a group other than maybe a mastermind group or something like that. So I just really wanted to kind of offer some hope and value out into the bigger world for people, everyday people who are trying to live a fuller version of their life. Because I'm going to pause this right here, because what I really came to find out over these last 5 years is I have been doing personal development and then coaching, not only to other people, but coaching myself. I am now firmly convinced I can't really explain it to you in terms of trying to sound really grounded and logical, because sometimes my understanding is illogical, as a lot of times faith is. A lot of people, especially if you're in like Christianity, there's a decent amount of faith that has to be employed in order to stay in step with your faith and with your belief system, because faith is believing in things you can't see, and sometimes counter to what is logical. So you can plug me into that category, because that is clearly where I operate a lot of the time. I have the ability, the uncanny ability, to believe in things that I can't see, even though I am one of the most practical, black and white humans you've ever met. I am pragmatic as they come. But yet, there is this part of me that has this illogical belief in, like, to the point of delulu, believing in things that I can't see. Ideas, concepts, hopes, dreams, visions, that type of thing. So I don't know why I've had that, but I've always had that. It's not been something that has come upon me in my adult life. I have just been that child who dreams a lot and who daydreams and, would make up, stories in my mind and have, imaginary play situations, like in my backyard or whatever. Growing up, we had this kind of cool tree that was sort of really big and it was really kind of weird. But it was kind of a cool tree. And so I used to climb the tree, and there's like this hole in the trunk a little bit, as you got up a couple levels in the branches, because I was a bit of a tomboy, so I loved to climb trees. And anyway, I don't know if we were reading the book in kindergarten or something, or whatever, the Alice in Wonderland book, where, she goes into the rabbit holes, the trees, and in my mind, that was a rabbit hole, and I could pretend that I could see the whole Alice in Wonderland situation playing out in that tree trunk. Yes, it's that kind of that, except I'm the adult version of that. So I have the weird ability to get excited about things that I can't see. So anyway, now let's bring it back around. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, what it has to do with is that a lot of my plans are based on things that have not been developed yet, that have not been seen, or at least not seen by me, concepts that don't exist out in the world, or at least not by my knowledge, that I really see value in and have belief and hopes that I can bring them out into the world. I don't know why I believe that, but I do. So anyway, with my corporate coaching situation, there is only so much of like big vision things that you can bring out there, because they're more about the tactical and dealing with what is as opposed to what could be. And any of you who have worked in corporate would understand that there's a lot of constraint about change, let alone change that is unproven. So I get that. I completely get that, which is why I really felt like I had to go under my own umbrella. But the heavy lift is trying to, sell other people on the concept, right? Even if I have it all jutted out with a program. I mean, I do. I had like a whole entire program, slide deck, all of the workbooks and ancillary things that you would need to have a nice balance between reality versus visioning, because that really is part of what would be my brand, is the possibility brand, like the visioning brand. And that's really the space that I operate most effectively in. It's just something I'm naturally able to do. And I'm not even going to say good at, I'm just able to do it. And I have never really questioned it, because it's just how I operate. So obviously, again, another rabbit hole, you could say that that's probably why I had like an effective time being a mom, because I loved imaginary play. What kid doesn't love imaginary play, right? So I would love to weave together these magical scenarios and tea parties with stuffed animals and all of the things, because my mind worked like that. And as a kid, I would have loved to have stuff like that. Like have an adult weave this whole imaginary magical situation together that they could plug me into, right? So that is something that I thrive in. I am very, very, very good at that. So how do I get a little more grounded and get more vested in the facts and figures and stats side of thing to have this be a product that can be taken seriously out in the marketplace? That was me coming into 2024. But, so this is me, maybe last year at this time, had a program called The Game of Life. Still have that. Would love to roll it back out again with the new information I have received coming into 2025. But that was what my mindset was coming into this year. Well, that got quickly derailed. Probably the very end of December and January, where suddenly I felt the need to just pause. Like, just be. Instead of drive, just having peace in the pause of life, and letting life unfold for me instead of me curating every last step. So come January, there was all types of things that were bubbling up to the surface. Things that I really thought I had already covered from an emotional standpoint. And just, I don't know, just overall discipline and lots of things that I had thought that I had already made some progress in. So I don't know why or how, but I've had, new people come into the situation that do different like meditations and modalities, and I'm always open to getting better and getting more regulated in my nervous system. So that really became a topic this year for me, is understanding that I still have a lot of undealt with things within my patterning, my emotional reactions to things, and frankly, my nervous system. And so you can't easily change the trajectory of your nervous system unless you specifically identify and go after those triggers in your life that run your life without you knowing about it, that run your nervous system. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, you will know this, because even though you don't know it, because subconsciously you're so used to being triggered and on adrenaline and running on complete, I should do this, I need to do this, I better do this. If you start saying those words to your life, this is one of my life lessons this year in 2024, stop now. Take a look at yourself. When you say those words, I should, I better, I have to, those are your nervous system speaking to you, okay? And if you don't address them and give them a little attention now as to why you always feel all these rules are incumbent upon you doing, your body then gets involved. And I think that's probably what garnered some attention for me coming into like January. I started to realize that my body really literally is always in some sort of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage. It's always one of them. It's never really like a regulated system. I didn't know that, but I do know that I am high energy and I have all these things like, oh, I better hurry up, because I'm always feeling this like giant clock behind me, like the time element, like time is not on my side, and I get paralyzed by the concept of time. I don't like to look back on old photos or old videos of my kids as much as I love them, because I can't recoup that time again. I did the best I could with them. I got the most out of it, and I'm really, really, really satisfied and proud with how I utilized my time with them in that chapter of my life of raising young kids. But time has always been almost like an frenemy of mine. So that really, I'm not sure, there was a couple things that really sort of made me triggered my emotional wounds, I guess you want to say. Wounds I didn't know I had, by the way. And so, I mean, you can always search for wounds, and there will always be one there, right? So I'm not trying to say that spend all your day like, where else am I hurt? And what else am I offended about? And oh dear, I still haven't dealt with this pain. It's very trendy to like look at your pain and your triggers, and you know what? It has value though. But there's also a balance that needs to be employed with that, because you could look every single day and find something over your entire life. And it's not like I'm 20, all right? So I've had a longer time to gain emotional scars and wounds along the way that maybe I just dealt with at the time, but I pushed down. So that's really where the body portion comes in to play, because your body understands more than you do. All right, because your body is subconsciously absorbing all of this information, absorbing all of these wounds or, little micro tears that you get along the way of life, and then you don't deal with them and you don't regulate them, and you give your power away to them, and your body holds on to the information. So your body always keeps score. And if you don't deal with it, then eventually your body will make you. So that's kind of where I was in January. So even though I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have this trajectory and roll out this version of my business plan, my body was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. This is the year, or at least this is the season of deeper healing, understanding your dysregulated nervous system. Because whether you know it or not, it's running the show. Your mind thinks it's running things, and it is to a certain degree, but the overall operation is being run by your body, your nervous system, because it has intelligence that your mind does not. Because your mind will keep you hostage from the truth sometimes, quite honestly. It works for us to keep us protected and safe. So it's constantly monitoring, filtering, doing all the things to block off any hard emotions from you leaning into, so that way it'll keep you safe. So it's like that fight or flight mind, that monkey mind, that being triggered when there was an event that triggered me, whether it was somebody saying something that felt like a veiled shot, or if it was somebody outright saying something that was unpleasant to me, or if events just didn't turn out the way that I wanted to, and it was almost like some version of a public fail. I was really good at reframing it in my mind, right? And that is a huge, valuable skill that I've been working on, and thought that, okay, I finally achieved some mastery in that. So things should really start to open up here, because I totally have put so much time into like my craft and my profession in this area. And there's all the books like, oh, you need at least 2,000 hours to become proficient or a professional in an area. I have blown out that number a long time ago, because it's a singular focus of me. It's almost like I don't know. It's a passion, but it's just part of me. So, I thought I had managed all of that. Well, what you don't realize, and what I came to find out through a series of divine events, not only just my body starting to give me weird signals, like something is off and you're feeling there's something not quite right. Not a full-on illness or anything like that, but just something. I just kept feeling like, chronically anxious, but for no reason. There was no triggering event that I couldn't trace it back to anything. There was no etiology of why I was suddenly having these nervous feelings in my stomach. So anyway, I worked with a couple people that have been very instrumental this year in helping me craft together piece together information about things that I didn't know about regarding body and energy, body work and energy work. While I've always known about Reiki, and while I have instituted Reiki, what I didn't know is I was thinking, oh, how do I say this? It was like event driven. Like, okay, I was dealing with a lot of stress when I was working situations out with my mother, whose health was failing, and we were needing to figure out, a living situation, a care situation, what kind of insurance she had, a whole new world that I had zero knowledge about. And I was trying to navigate this labyrinth of this whole thing while still getting my daughter ready for college. It just felt I was frustrated. I was just overwhelmed, blindsided. So there was a lot of trauma that I was dealing with, all of that. So I was thinking, oh, maybe Reiki can help, just help clear my mind, make my body settle down, whatever. So I was feeling like it was event driven. But what I failed to understand, and this is such a key concept, please, please, please listen to this. Your sicknesses, your life, your emotions, your reactions aren't in a vacuum. Okay? They aren't just by one situation. This is a lifetime of undealt with emotions. So if you remember, just about 5 minutes ago, I said I was a master at being able to separate out my emotions and tell myself, nope, I'm not hurt anymore. I'm not giving my power to that person who's trying to hurt my feelings or who's trying to tear me down or make me feel self-conscious or whatever it is. So I was getting really good at separating out my emotions and my ability to have anyone hurt me. I was becoming almost like this, like untouchable. Honestly, like a shield was around me. And no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't touch me. You couldn't hurt me on this. But what I did not understand was this, is that all the lifetime leading up to those moments where I learned to, curate my thoughts, little did I know, my body was already registering all the body blows I was taking my entire life, soul blows, heartache, was already holding on to it because I had never known how to clear it, never known how to address it, seek it out, find it, and clear it. And I am a firm believer, and I understand that this is contentious, in the world, because there's just so many factors that play into this, and I get all of that. I understand it. But I firmly believe that a lot of diseases in our bodies, they're not situational. They're a lifetime of not dealing with the thing that's irritating that body part. And then finally the body just snaps and says, okay, I've had enough. You're not clearing this out for me. You're not helping or regulating this part. So boom, here we are. We've got a disease now, or we've got some sort of a problem that the body just snaps. It's emotions, trapped energy from a lifetime of survival. So that causes irritation in your cells, causes irritation in your mind and in your emotions. But none of us want to lean into our emotions. Okay, so none of us, that's the hard work. That's the heavy work. None of us want to sit in our room and hurt our own feelings, so to speak, by letting those emotions just drown us, because we think like, oh, I can't slow down and let that happen. So, I just got to keep moving and just say, well, okay, nothing I can do about it. Cut it loose, which is how I did it. I had to stay strong and, because we value that, like, oh, strength and resilience. But what the real strength is by standing up face to face, coming face to face with your shadows and letting those shadows literally punch you in the face and hurt you in a physical way, and let your heart break when you're replaying those emotions, because only in the feeling of those emotions can you then transmute them and let go of them and tell yourself a different story so that you can learn to heal from those emotions. Because some people won't continue on with like a big idea or a goal they always had for their life because they were met with one rejection. And to this day, they hold on to that rejection as the story. Well, I tried and I failed. It wasn't meant to be. Right? Any of you know about that story? Maybe you're living it. And that is our body's way of keeping us safe. No, don't go out there. Don't go out there. They would rather live in their comfortable misery than experience the unknown version of potential misery. They would rather live in their comfortable misery, and they're not getting any better, and they're still miserable. So you choose your miserable. Either way, you're faced with the potential of misery, and you get to choose. So they'll choose the familiar hell as opposed to the unfamiliar hell. You know what I mean? We all do that. It's a very logical way and practical way of doing life. So what I came to find out is that I don't have to carry that story around anymore with me, because now I have been given some tools and some understanding on how to then really find and target those trapped places of emotions where I don't even realize it. Think of things like this, and it's been brought to my attention by my fabulous, well, she's more like a medical genius chiropractor, like say like functional medicine type of person. Her mind is just so intuitive. Anyway, things like me grinding my teeth. If you're a teeth grinder, you've got trapped emotions. So if you start to have jaw problems, that's you. That's you again with your trapped emotions. Okay? If you wake up and your hands are clenched, trapped emotions. You're anxious. You're always grinding while you sleep and don't even realize it. Yep, that's me. You wake up and your neck hurts. Once again, that's you. Trapped emotions. If you wake up with your arm numb or your leg numb, yep, guess what? Guess what's back again? Trapped emotions, because your mind is a little freer when it sleeps. So all of the stories that you've been stuffing down since you were born will come out to play while your executive functioning mind isn't there to like try to control the whole rules of the game. Right? So like that's why like wild things come up in your dreams, because your executive functioning mind is asleep. And when the cat's away, the mice will play. And that's what happens. Isn't that crazy? Like this information was finding me. Then I found not only these practitioners that helped me personally, but I found a program called To Be Magnetic. I stumbled upon that because I was supposed to, right? Because life is divinely ordered. Amazing. And it really, I started to listen to the podcast at first, and I binged all these podcast episodes about understanding that subconscious programming, and trying to understand the concept of deconditioning those like hostage thoughts that I had all these years and carried around in my body, not realizing that that's what I was doing. But it was my teeth, by the way, that my body let me know that, warning, you got some stuff going on here that you need to deal with. And it was my teeth grinding. Didn't realize it. I mean, I like cracked a tooth back there while I'm sleeping. What? And I'm thinking, what? I always control my mind. And I'm so like good at finding peace. I'm so good at it. But little did I know, when I'm sleeping, my mind was like running amok. Because my emotions were, because I hadn't let them out yet. I hadn't addressed them. And this To Be Magnetic program kind of has like a version of hypnotherapy and some breath work and meditation and visioning that really addresses so many of these concepts, and understanding how your mind actually has so many more blocks to, what are my blocks to money? And the concept that they said that I loved was, and I'm still binging on trying to get my arms around it, was how love and money are connected. The concept of love and money are connected. So I'm going to have to do another solo episode on that one altogether, because that concept is so big and juicy. But if you find failures in one, there's generally a failure in the other as well, some version of a failure in the other, or you can regulate both sides and you can enjoy balance in both sides. But there's the whole, disparity of life. There's the yin and yang, the dark and the light, that there are ways to experience balance and not have to live in darkness in terms of bad relationship cycles, love cycles, any type of love. And they draw it all the way back to childhood. Where was the first time you felt this? Or if you have bad, relationships with money, like there's never enough, you're always scarcity minded, you always like grab a hold of your money and you don't try to grow it because you're too busy trying to hold on to it. So there's all these different versions of money, lack, and scarcity that can show up in your life. But then if you look over in your love life, where do I also have scarcity in my, my relationships, or especially more consequential relationships? Like, where do I accept
crumbs where I should be having standards? Where do I give in too much and just go, okay, whatever, we'll just do it your way just to keep the peace? Where do I do that? Right? So you start to examine all of these things that you have just gone along to get along, because sometimes you don't have the ability to really, it feels indulgence to say, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go, even though the whole family wants to go this other place, I want to go here. I'm tired of having to give in to everybody else. They need to give in to me sometimes, because you put your own self and your own needs last. Well, those, even though you are fine with it in your mind, because why? Because you're used to it, your body is like, nah, you're not being heard. You are not living in authenticity. You are not living into the fullest version of yourself. You are the person who always takes crumbs. So how do you expect to have success if you're constantly taking crumbs in all of these other areas? You have to see it happening to believe it. You have to have expansive experiences where you walk into your power and you say, no, you're trying to give me this, but I'm not taking that. That's not good enough. And in order to become expanded in those areas, you have to start to challenge those narratives. But you can't challenge them until you know they are there. Crazy, right? It's the craziest thing. Life is so crazy. And it's amazing how it always, the information you need always finds itself to you. It's crazy. I mean, it's been so life altering finding this program. It has quite literally altered every part of my life and has like bolstered me up and given me so much permission to approach life from such a different place, and that my energy is slowly but surely aligning with what these new visions of the evolution of my brand, of my personal life and relationships, what I want them to look like, what they currently, or what they weren't looking like, but what I wanted them to look like. But how could I want that if I'm not doing something different? Because energetically, I'm pouring in to the relationship from a place of lack, right? I'm pouring in from a place of defensiveness, or like a desperate energy, like I just want this to change. And that's not going to attract abundance. Desperation never attracts abundance, excuse me. It has to come in the way that you are fully in your power, in your authentic power, and you fully believe and are convicted. You say and do things with conviction, like, I absolutely will not take less than this any longer. I've been taking less my entire life. And it's not from this big, proud, I know everyone's like, oh, take back your power and be powerful. It's not. I just can't get on board with how it's misguided, or how, it's I don't know how to say it, but on the news, and just in popular society, like, I'm taking back my power and you're not going to take. No, it's not combative. It's peaceful. It's from a place of peace and just knowing and appreciating yourself and appreciating how God created you. That you want from that place, because you know you're out of alignment and purpose for your life, because that's not how God created you, is to be a crumb taker, if in fact you are feeling like that. Because some people don't, that's not their struggle. There might be another struggle where they feel disregarded by friends, or they don't have peace, or whatever it is. But if it's your place inside of you that feels small and disempowered, or like frustrated that things aren't going the way you want them to go, or the way you thought they should go, ask yourself why. There is an origin from that. So this program has been great at taking you back all the way to the beginning of, where did you first pick up this understanding that you had to be small, or that you had to just go along and please everybody else just to get along, but don't worry about your own needs. Because when you don't worry about your own needs, you don't even know what your needs are, because you've never given them any time or attention to figure them out. Isn't that crazy? So that's crazy in and of itself. You don't even know yourself anymore because you've never put yourself out there to go, well, what is it that I like? Well, what is it that I want? You can never get clarity because you aren't even who you are. You aren't connected to yourself. So to land the plane for that, oh my gosh, there's so much more. I'm going to have to do a part 2 because it could be a part 3 because this session is already really long. But let's just say I also found in, February, March, okay, because I met with my mastermind group and they, we talked a little bit about that and a lot of other mindset and nervous regulation and breath work. And then they gave me the concept of human design and astrology. And anyone who's following me right now knows that I really, really, really have keyed in to the human design portion of that. I tried to understand what the astrology had to do with any of it because I've never really given that any airtime. But I can't deny the accuracy of some of the things that I have found out about, like your trajectory in life based on astrology and all of that kind of stuff. I am not an expert. I don't know enough about that to speak in any kind of credible way, other than the parts that I have found, and I'm like, damn, that hits. That I can't deny that that's accurate. But then the human design thing is where I have been landing and applying that to all of the information that I'm finding out from To Be Magnetic about the reprogramming, the subconscious reprogramming, and understanding that my way of doing things goes beyond just changing my mind about it. I have to change my energy around it, and I have to be more at peace with situations so that I can design the path forward. And then human design really gave me a further understanding of who I am at a DNA level. Told me a little bit more about my human design, and oh my goodness, about my set point patterns that I was born with. There's a personality side, the part of you that is it's evolved. It's evolved in time as you've been on this earth, and it kind of tells you a little bit about who you are because you've almost had to become that person. But then there's the subconscious side that you were born with, and so many, oh my God, so many absolute pinpoint accuracies of what it says, what my life would have looked like. And it's right. It talks about these gates of chaos and all these things in my subconscious. It was the wildest. Going, yes, yep, that's absolutely correct. That was exactly how my life played out. So that gave me a little more credence with it, or credibility with me, that I'm really, I'm scarily going to kind of integrate this into my brand because it was so enlightening for me that I know people could get so many ahas from it. And it just adds up, it adds and layers into my faith, because that's always a contentious thing too, is that, my walk with God and my faith walk. And for me, it only enhances the magnificence of the purpose that all of us come down here designed with from God. God designed this. I didn't ask for any of this. He's already pre-designed it. And this is Him. And so if anything, it has strengthened my faith walk. So that, I'll talk about that at the next episode as well, because it really is a big deal for a lot of my peers, because we all have strong faith walks. So just to kind of understand where I'm coming from and how I've been able to absorb this information. But yeah, my human design is right on point. There's all these different archetypes. I'm the generator, which is the nervous energy lady, right? I've got energy to burn, which I do, but I would use my energy on everyone else. So then I would end up in what they call my not self theme, which is, for a generator, frustration. Yep. You listen to any of my old podcasts, you will see that I talk about certain frustrations, running into walls, just getting on these same hamster wheels, couldn't seem to get anywhere because I'm always feeling like somebody else's needs always would usurp my needs or usurp my attention, so that I couldn't quite, get any momentum. But this year, knowing some of this human design, and really seeking out the right information, I was able to gain some momentum and get back to my events and things that were the initial stepping stone of my brand, but it's now yet evolving from there. But I still love the events, and I will be doing more of them, so stay tuned in 2025. Bringing not only the mindset thing in, because that's part of life, but not everyone wants to go around and worry about human design. Sometimes they just want to be entertained to make their life feel inspired or full, because that's sometimes all we need when we're trying to gain momentum in other areas of our life. The one thing you can do is go clean out your silverware drawer. Go clean out your closet, because there is something so valuable in having that idea to, like, I would just like to regulate the energy in my closet or in my kitchen or in my silverware drawer or wherever it is. Because if you look at it through the lens of human design, if you have that idea, for me, it's like, it's a sacral idea, and meaning that that will help my body relax so that I can make space energetically for what is actually meant for me to come in. But if I'm busy doing all the things for everyone else that they want me to do, and never doing anything that I am being, quote, led to do, even if it has seemingly nothing to do with your ultimate goal, do it anyway, then in being that way, I am finding myself in full alignment, and I will eventually stumble into the next cosmic breadcrumb for my path for what it is that I want to do, since I'm getting more and more clarity around that. You see? So it all plays off of each other. One thing plays off the other. And so human design has been the most invaluable tool now that I have learned all of these other things in the year of 2024, where I had to just be, and I had to dig, and I had to decondition. And I'm still deconditioning. It's not like I'm done. I'm in the process of continuing, but just lifting all the heavy energy of my emotions that have been embedded for years now, and finally transmuting it and letting go of some of it. All of us are doing it. You just don't know that this is available to you. All of us need it, but you just don't know it's a thing. I would love to share with you exactly my steps on how I did it, and still doing it, and see how the path unfolds for you. Yours will be very unique to you, especially given your human design. So my design is to stay in satisfaction as a generator. And so that's what I'm doing. There's lots of other things that fall into this too, that explain a lot about me. And I'm just absolutely over the moon passionate about human design. So I would love to do a human design, just like a whole consult with you, and let's dive into who you are to get you onto your path of healing, letting go of those subconscious limiting beliefs, and really letting loose into the life that you want. And it might be, I just want to be peaceful because I've got enough money, I've got a great career, but I don't have peace, I don't have joy. I can help you with that once I see what's in your human design chart. It's so amazing. Not only can I help you because I've been through it in all these other modalities, but I'm just saying a real personal, unique blueprint is written up quite accurately in your human design. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is how I truly feel. So I would love to talk to you about it. I'm going to do a part 2 about what the rest of the year has brought to the surface through all of this internal work, because more keeps coming, even though I'm like, are we done yet? We're still not done. So I will do a part 2. I thank you guys for joining me. Anyone who is drawn to this message, stay tuned, because I'm not an influencer. I'm none of those things. I'm just a regular person finding my way through life, trying to build a business and a brand, and do a completely career pivot from copywriting and public relations, and do it to this other space of enhancement, life enhancement. I'm not going to call myself a life coach because I don't like that, and I don't even identify with that. It's more like I'm giving you the information, and I can see your design, and I'm going to wind up the toy and let you go. I'm going to tell you what I see and let you go on your own authentic path. So I'd love to work with you. Stay tuned for part 2 of all of the useful ways all this information can help you in the practical things that you can do to help find your best life, your path forward as a regular human out there like me. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful holiday. I'm excited to dive into mine, and I know you are for yours, and I'll check in with you. Hopefully maybe one more episode before the end of the year, so we're going to start 2025 strong. We're going to go like gangbusters, and I'm ready. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.